For centuries, we believed the Great Pyramids of Egypt held no more secrets, until now. Deep beneath the scorching sands, archaeologists have uncovered a forbidden tomb, hidden for thousands of years, sealed away as if to erase it from history itself. What they found inside is beyond imagination, an artifact so unexplainable that experts are questioning everything we thought we knew about ancient civilizations. Mysterious hieroglyphs warn of a forgotten power, a knowledge that was never meant to be unearthed. But why was this tomb deliberately concealed? Who, or what, was it protecting? And could this be the missing piece to one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries? Stay with us as we unravel the shocking truth about Egypt's lost pyramids, a discovery that could change history forever. But be warned, once you hear what was found inside, you may never look at the pyramids the same way again. Beneath the relentless Egyptian sun, a team of archaeologists carefully brushed away layers of sand, unaware that they were standing atop one of the most shocking discoveries in modern history. For decades, historians believed that Egypt's Great Pyramids had given up all their secrets. But recent satellite scans detected something unusual beneath the sands near the Pyramid of Menkaure, an anomaly, a hidden structure buried deep below the surface. The excavation team, led by some of the world's top Egyptologists, drilled carefully into the earth, expecting perhaps an old storage chamber or a minor burial site. What they found, however, was far more sinister. As their tools scraped against an unmarked stone slab, a chilling realization set in: this wasn't just any tomb. It was sealed. Not with the traditional burial rites of ancient Egyptian kings, but in a way that suggested one thing: someone did not want this place to ever be opened. The entrance was deliberately hidden beneath layers of rock and sand, as if history itself had conspired to keep it secret. Unlike the grand tombs of pharaohs, adorned with royal markings and glorious carvings, this doorway bore only a single warning: those who enter will awaken the forgotten. The inscription was written in an ancient, almost lost dialect of hieroglyphics, one rarely seen in recorded Egyptian history. Despite the eerie message, the team pressed on. Using advanced ground-penetrating radar, they mapped out the hidden corridors beneath them, tunnels that stretched far deeper than any known Egyptian tomb. The deeper they went, the more they realized something was wrong. Unlike typical pyramidal burials, which were designed for grandeur, this structure seemed desperate. Hastily built, reinforced with massive stone blocks, as if designed to trap something inside rather than to protect what lay within. After weeks of careful excavation, the entrance was finally revealed, a pitch-black passageway descending into the unknown. The air that seeped out was thick, stale, and disturbingly cold, as if untouched by time itself. A leading archaeologist, Dr. Elias Carter, recorded his first impression in his journal. "There is something unnatural about this place. The silence is deafening, the air heavy with something unexplainable. It does not feel like we are opening a tomb, it feels like we are disturbing something that should have remained buried forever." As they stepped inside, their flashlights revealed something no one expected: massive stone slabs, decorated not with Egyptian gods, but with strange figures, unlike anything ever seen in known Egyptian mythology. Some depicted elongated skulls, others showed beings with eyes too large for a human face. The walls were covered in inscriptions, warnings, prayers, desperate pleas to seal the chamber and never let them out. But who them were, no one knew. And then, in the darkness, they saw it. A sarcophagus, twice the size of any they had ever encountered, resting at the very heart of the tomb. Its lid was covered in a substance that looked like it had been melted shut. Something, or someone, was inside. And that's when the real nightmare began. The moment the archaeologists laid eyes on the massive, sealed sarcophagus, an unsettling silence filled the chamber. This was unlike any burial they had ever seen. Egyptian tombs were meant to honor the dead, celebrating their journey to the afterlife with golden treasures, hieroglyphic prayers, and intricate carvings of gods welcoming the soul. But this was different. There were no signs of reverence, only warnings. Whoever was buried here was not meant to be remembered. They were meant to be forgotten. Dr. Elias Carter ran his gloved fingers over the inscriptions on the sarcophagus lid. Unlike the usual prayers to Osiris, the god of the underworld, these writings spoke of something darker, phrases like, "the cursed one," "he who must never awaken," and the chilling words, "sealed by decree of the high priests. The punishment for disturbing this tomb is death." It was clear that this burial had been carried out in secrecy, hidden from the eyes of the world. But why? Who was so dangerous that an entire tomb had to be erased from history? The team uncovered more carvings along the chamber walls, depicting a strange ritual. Priests and soldiers stood around a kneeling figure, a man unlike any other. His facial features were elongated, almost inhuman. His arms were bound, and behind him, the towering image of Anubis, the god of death, loomed ominously. But what truly sent shivers down their spines was the final scene. The figure was not being mummified for a sacred burial. He was being sealed away, as if he were a prisoner rather than a king. Could this be a lost pharaoh, erased from history for crimes unspeakable? Some of the archaeologists began to whisper among themselves, recalling old myths of the forgotten pharaoh, a ruler so feared that even speaking his name was said to bring misfortune. Legend spoke of a man who dabbled in forbidden knowledge, a ruler who defied the gods and sought powers beyond mortal comprehension. Some believed he had unlocked the secrets of immortality, others claimed he had summoned something he could not control. But was this just a myth? Or had they stumbled upon the very tomb meant to keep him locked away for eternity? As they examined the sarcophagus further, they found something even more disturbing. Unlike traditional Egyptian coffins, which were designed to be opened to release the soul, this one had melted wax, iron chains, and thick resin covering its edges, as if someone had gone to extreme lengths to make sure it was never unsealed. For a moment, no one spoke. Then, one of the younger archaeologists finally voiced the question lingering in everyone's mind. What if this tomb wasn't meant to keep grave robbers out, but to keep something inside? A deep unease settled over the group. Had they just made the greatest discovery in history, or the biggest mistake of their lives? The air inside the tomb felt heavier than before, thick with an almost unnatural stillness. The team stood around the enormous sarcophagus, their flashlights casting eerie shadows on the walls. Dr. Elias Carter hesitated for a moment, then gave the signal. The archaeologists prepared their tools, chisels scraping against the hardened resin and wax that had sealed the lid shut for thousands of years. As they worked, the temperature inside the chamber seemed to drop, and a strange, almost electric feeling crept over them, as if they were being watched. With one final crack, the seal broke. A deep, resonating sound echoed through the tomb as the heavy lid was slowly pushed aside. What lay inside sent a wave of shock through the entire team. It wasn't a typical mummified body. Instead of the carefully wrapped remains of an ancient ruler, they found something far more disturbing. The figure inside was perfectly preserved. Unlike anything they had seen before, the skin remained eerily intact, leathery but unaged, as if the body had never decayed. His eyes, wide open. Not hollow sockets, not shriveled remains, but glassy, dark eyes that seemed to stare right through them. But what truly sent shivers down their spines was his appearance. This was no ordinary man. The facial structure was unlike any known pharaoh, elongated skull, high cheekbones, and fingers that were unnaturally long and thin. His arms were crossed over his chest, but his fingers were curled as if frozen in mid-motion, almost as if he had been alive when sealed inside. And then, there were the markings. Across his body, strange symbols had been carved, not Egyptian hieroglyphs, but something older, something unrecognizable. The cuts looked deliberate, forming a pattern that seemed almost mathematical, as if whoever placed them there had done so with precise intent. And strangest of all, his chest was not intact. There was a large, unnatural hole where his heart should have been, but it had not been removed in the traditional mummification process. It looked as though it had been forcefully taken, or never existed at all. A hush fell over the group as Dr. Carter leaned in closer. That's when they noticed the final, most terrifying detail. The lips of the figure were slightly parted, revealing what looked like teeth. But they were sharp. Almost inhuman. And then, the lights flickered. For the first time since entering the tomb, a deep, resonating sound filled the chamber. It wasn't from their equipment. It wasn't from the shifting sands above. It was coming from the sarcophagus. A low, whisper-like breath, escaping from the figure's mouth. A panic set in. One of the archaeologists stumbled backward, knocking over a lantern, sending shadows dancing wildly across the walls. Had they just unearthed a forgotten pharaoh? Or something that was never meant to be awakened? No one spoke. No one moved. But in that moment, deep in the darkness of the lost tomb, something did. As news of the discovery leaked to the outside world, historians, archaeologists, and conspiracy theorists alike were thrown into a frenzy. Who was this mysterious figure? And perhaps more importantly, why had he been sealed away in such an unorthodox manner? Theories flooded in, each more shocking than the last. Theory 1, the Forbidden Pharaoh. Some experts believe this was the long-lost tomb of an erased ruler, a pharaoh so feared, so dangerous, that his name had been deliberately wiped from history. Ancient Egyptian records contain references to certain rulers being struck from the annals, as if they had never existed. Could this be one of them? Was this the fate of a king who had committed unspeakable crimes against his people, or worse, against the gods themselves? Theory 2, the non-human ruler. Others pointed to the figure's unnatural features, the elongated skull, the bizarrely preserved body, and the alien-like symbols carved into his flesh. Was he human at all? Some theorists suggested that this was evidence of an advanced, non-human civilization, one that had once ruled over Egypt before mysteriously disappearing. This theory wasn't entirely baseless. Depictions of strange beings with elongated heads can be found in ancient Egyptian carvings, and certain pharaohs, like Akhenaten, were known for their unusually shaped skulls. Could this have been a being of unknown origin, hidden away by the priests who feared what he truly was? Theory 3, the cursed experiment. Perhaps the most chilling theory suggested that this was not a man at all, but an experiment gone horribly wrong. Some historians speculated that the high priests had attempted something never before recorded in Egyptian history, a resurrection ritual. They had carved symbols into his body, removed his heart, and sealed him away, not to honor him, but to prevent something far more terrifying. Had they been trying to create an immortal god, and instead created a monster? Ancient Egyptian texts warn of the undying ones, beings who had defied death, only to bring chaos upon the land. Some believed these were just myths. Others now weren't so sure. The mysterious cover-up. Strangely, just days after the discovery, the Egyptian government sealed off the site. The artifacts were confiscated, and researchers were reportedly silenced. Some whispered that something had been found, something too dangerous to be revealed to the public. Then, in a bizarre twist, members of the original excavation team began reporting nightmares, visions of the figure's cold, dead eyes staring back at them. One archaeologist even vanished without a trace, his last journal entry reading, "He is watching. He is waiting. We should never have opened it." Was this all coincidence? Or had the team awakened something that had been meant to stay buried forever? Perhaps some mysteries were never meant to be solved, and some tombs should never be opened. Just when the world thought the mystery couldn't get any darker, a final, chilling revelation changed everything. Dr. Elias Carter, the lead archaeologist, had gone missing. Vanished. His colleagues last saw him in his study, poring over the ancient carvings found on the sarcophagus. But when authorities arrived at his residence, they found his research notes scattered across the floor, and a single phrase scrawled frantically on the wall. He was never dead. Security footage revealed something even more disturbing. At 3:03 a.m., Dr. Carter was seen standing in his office, staring blankly at the camera. His lips were moving, as if whispering something, but there was no sound. Then, without warning, he turned and walked out the door, never to be seen again. But the most terrifying clue? The DNA analysis of the mummified figure had finally been completed. And what the scientists found defied everything they knew about history. The preserved body, once thought to be an unknown pharaoh or supernatural entity, had human DNA, but not from ancient Egypt. Instead, it matched a profile from the modern database, a perfect match to Dr. Elias Carter himself. But that was impossible. Carter had only just disappeared. He was alive, in the present day. And yet, here was a body, thousands of years old, bearing his exact genetic signature. Had he somehow traveled back in time? Had he been sealed away in an ancient past, only to be unearthed by his own excavation team? Or had the tomb not simply held a body, but a cycle? A loop that was never meant to be broken? Then came the final horror. The sarcophagus was empty. The body, the thing that should have been inside, was gone. And on the cold stone where it had once lain, archaeologists found something else, a fresh handprint in the dust. It was too recent. Too new. As if someone, or something, had just crawled out. The excavation site was shut down. The team was ordered to remain silent. But strange sightings began to emerge, reports of a figure lurking in the desert, a tall, gaunt man with hollow eyes and unnaturally long fingers. Locals whispered of an ancient prophecy, a being that was never meant to be found, never meant to awaken. Had the team uncovered a forgotten chapter of history? Or had they just released something that was never meant to walk this earth again? The final words left behind in Carter's notes remain the only clue. The tomb was never a burial site. It was a prison. If this discovery is real, it changes everything we thought we knew about history, time, and human existence. Was Dr. Elias Carter's disappearance a terrifying coincidence, or proof of something beyond our understanding? If the figure in the tomb truly escaped, where is he now? And more importantly, was he ever truly human? The ancient Egyptians were master builders, astronomers, and mathematicians. But what if they were also guardians of knowledge too dangerous to be revealed? What if some tombs weren't meant to be opened, not to protect the past, but to protect the future? Think about it, countless ancient sites remain sealed, hidden beneath the sands of time. What secrets still lie buried? And if this was just one tomb, what else could be out there, waiting to be found? Now, the question is yours: should we keep digging, or have we already gone too far? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Do you believe in this chilling mystery? Or is it all just an ancient legend? And if you want to uncover more forbidden secrets, subscribe now, because history is far darker than we ever imagined.